Alright, so this, well, I don't think it's going to explain reality, but it's going to be interesting. Now, just listen to this guy, right?
Three things make it beautiful to mathematicians and useful to some physicists. So we start with that as the game board, and it also includes other algebras, sub-algebras, and sub-lattices that have been used by others in various physical models. So when you take that, you're getting a lot of other goodies along with it. It's called an algebraic stack.
Okay.
And so we take that and then we transform that by projective geometry to a lower dimension and by a certain angle. And what we get is a quasi-crystal. Have you ever seen like a mosque and they'll have these tiling patterns that don't repeat like a checkerboard, and they're very beautiful and they're made of tiles. So that's called a quasi-crystal. And those quasi-crystals are shadows or lower dimensional projections of higher.
Now that was quite interesting, I thought. Quasi-crystal non-repeating patterns in mosques, tiling, ceilings and floors. And I get that. That's the image she's showing, but it's just
dimensional crystals. So crystals are things that repeat like a checkerboard, and a quasi-crystal is a pattern that is very orderly and it's a language or a code. It has syntax, but it doesn't have to repeat, like English. Like it's against the law in English to say the dog ran cat. But you don't have to say fast. You can say the dog ran slowly. So that's syntactical freedom within a construct of rules. And we want a code thing, but we want that to fully encode the mathematics of this E8 Lie algebra and its associated, its equivalent mathematical representations.
What do you reckon? I thought that was really interesting, and I'm going to make a couple of other little links with this. So just a couple of stills I took from that previous bit of footage. It's just a pattern I'm looking at here. And this is that quasi-crystal mathematical or algebraic pattern that they come to through their mathematics or mathmagic. Maybe it is more magic, because, well, this pattern's appearing in mosques, and maybe not necessarily the building is a mosque, is it? Because we know that these buildings, they're like repurposed, don't they? So, but I recognise it. It's not an unfamiliar pattern, is it? So, let's go a little bit deeper. So, there's some more pictures. Now, these are the pictures that come out of the mathematics. Yeah, these are what they call the quasi-crystal imaging pictures. It's all, apparently it's not just people drawing pictures, because these have got that non-repeating pattern, which is interesting to me. Like this, I'm seeing a star shape, and I'm seeing like a hexagon ball. crazy, isn't it? But, you know, it wouldn't be out of place on the floor, would it? In fact, I don't know, maybe if I looked hard enough, you never know. See, look, these are all the mathematics, the quasi crystals. There's a bunch of them, right? Got a close-up of one of these. But like, wow. But you know, they are colourful, them mosques, aren't they? Or them ceilings. What do you reckon? So, here we go again. What do you reckon this is? Mathematical? Was that actually a ceiling? Very interesting. Well, what about that? It's pretty crazy, isn't it? It looks like something that would come out of that mathematics. These different panels. Right? Very similar. Don't you reckon? Big stars, look. You know, could that be a pattern for a star fault as well? I don't know. How about that? I do apologise for these pictures, like, because I'm a novice at this thing, so I'm doing this through a screen recorder and that. But, you know, if you turn your phone sideways, whatever, you do get a good view. But you can see here, so we are actually looking up at the underneath of a dome ceiling. You can see there in the centre, that kind of pointy arch, that's actually a window. So we're actually looking at like a mosaic tiled ceiling. Indeed. And there you go, there's another one. The arch, recessed arches. Very interesting. I think I've got a better picture of that one. I've got that one. It's pretty crazy, isn't it? I mean, wow. What about this thing on the left here? Well, there's one in each of them side panels. It's like a gold shiny thing. That's interesting. And it's a more distant view of it. So that's, yeah, just part of the ceiling dome underneath. So, oh, I don't know, bad timing that. So what do you reckon? So here's a close-up of the actual ceiling there, and I mean, wow. But, you know, it certainly does look a bit like those quasi-crystal patterns, don't you reckon? It's very, very similar, if not the same. And here's just a more zoomed in view. But I mean, just look at the detail. But the patterning of the detail, it's like, wow. Interesting. Very interesting. So, right, I've gone back to this one, right, because I thought these panels on the edges, the gold kind of, yeah, little panel in there, I thought, well, that looks like a SIM card, doesn't it? You know, I'm not saying exactly, because it's not exact, but it's similar. And I thought, hold on a minute, I've seen something else like that, and I'll show you. So, excuse me. There you go, look. I thought that was similar. You can see, you know, they look a bit like SIM cards as well. And there's some pictures there, obviously on the lower one. And yeah, they'll be clearer in a sec. So they do, don't they? They look a little bit like that previous picture. And a bit like a SIM card. And then look. So this is just a better view of what those last two were. And what this actually is the maze that is featured in the film The Shining. How mad is that? The maze in the film The Shining looks like a fucking SIM card. Which actually looks like a panel on a mosque, or part of the panel. Now, I don't know if that's right. I just thought that was interesting, isn't it? Bit of a weird connection, but it gets a bit more interesting than that, because I found something else. Let's have a look. Okay, so here we go. Patterns, isn't it? We're looking at patterns now. As far as I understand, patterns can also influence. You know, people have sigils and things like that. And these patterns, you know, can influence things. Maybe that's what's going on with these. You know, because, so let's look at some crop circles. Okay, I love these. So I mean, look, you know, it doesn't matter what the story is, does it? The way I see it is, if this circle here is a hoax, then whoever done it was really clever, right? Really clever. Because of the pattern for a start, which is not that, you know, it's not that dissimilar from what we've been looking at, is it? Now, you know, there's a lot of unreporting, to be honest, when it comes to crop circles. And, you know, there are, you know, there's hoaxes, right, but there's unexplained. And the unexplained formations are truly unexplained, because the actual, the way the crop has been flattened is like interwoven. Yeah, so you know when you see a football pitch just being cut and it has them lines and squares it makes up, yeah, because the tractor goes the opposite direction, yeah, and it gives you that different way things lay, and that creates them different patterns, so you can get a checkered or lines. It's not that dissimilar, except for in the crop formations, none of the stems are broken, right? Let's get that clear. In the ones that have been hoaxed, yeah, there's broken stalks. But these ones, right, they're not broken. So literally, if the farmer never had to harvest that field, all the pattern would gradually grow out, because the stalks, the stems, they're not killed, they're not broken. They will gradually angle up again towards the sun. How mad's that? Let's have a look at some more. Wow. I'd say there's some geometry going on there, aren't there? You know? I mean, holy moly. But see, now I'm thinking, you know, we've been looking at these detailed tiled ceilings and floors, and we've been looking at quasi-crystal patterns that come out of an algebraic mathematics. It's very interesting. Like these pictures, or patterns I should say, you know, maybe it's not a coded language as such. Maybe like what you're meant to receive is what the actual picture is, what it's giving off. I don't know. I'm just pondering it. Because, I mean, look. I mean, you must admit, I mean, you know, the designs on the buildings, on the ceilings and the tiled floors, you know, I've often thought to myself, you know, where'd you get the inspiration for that pattern? Is that just, you know, make it up as you go along? I was like, no fucking way, it can't be. So, if they're being formed, or can, you know, well, were they doing tiling in the manner that I just showed? Was they doing that years ago out of an understanding of mathematics, and then making the tiled patterns? Okay, and if so, well, would that involve crop circles? Because they're geometric, and I dare say you could actually, you know, if you wanted to do a real close comparison, you would find matches for most. Because what I've showed you here with the circles, you know, it's nothing. There are loads. Even this summer, 2023, you know, sometimes there's been like 5 in one night, you know. And in the summertime, you know, you've got 4 or 5 hours tops. And if they're saying guys are going out there treading all these things down with boards in them, you know, low light hours, short hours, you know, it's almost impossible. It can't be done. And don't forget, you know, a lot of these fields where these circles and that tend to appear, people stake them out, you know, people want to see them forming. And there is evidence of formation, yeah. And I mean, I'm not going to put it on here because you could easily find it. I might put it in, find the link, but you know, there's not just one source from that. There's, as far as I know, there is one video that shows the formation. Right, I've not actually gone and found it myself yet. That's probably why I haven't left the link. However, there are others that have captured these, I don't know, they call them orbs, but they're bright balls of light. And these are, you know, so people are sort of suggesting that these unexplained circles have appeared when these lights have been present. So they're kind of, you know, they're suggesting it's to do with these balls. Now, what are we to make of that? You know, because little green men, really? You know, there's no proof, is there, to say that little green men are actually a real thing? Be that an interdimensional one, or be that, you know, from fake space. Who knows? Right, but there's no proof. Right, there's no proof, you know, for anything, really. You know, there is a mystery there. So, I was just, you know, wondering how would you be able to do that? if you're not going to put it down to a, mysterious entity or whatever, would there be, say, a technology that has been developed by men, on the quiet, that might be able to create a pattern like this? Yeah, and in the way the crop has been folded in to make the circle and the patterns. It's very specific, you see. And I was kind of thinking, imagine if, it's say like a 3D printer. It's a stationary apparatus, but you put a program in and the machine decodes it and gradually cuts out the object. Okay, so you can use it if necessary. Right? Well, I wondered if, perhaps maybe that could have been made, instead of it being a fixed cutting tool, yeah, could that be in a remote drone? I.e., what if the so-called globes were actually a drone just been programmed? Maybe 2, maybe 3. Yeah, not actually flown remote control, someone controlling it, but a pre-programmed flight at a coordinates that would be in a field. Right, and I thought, that's not that big a stretch of the imagination to make that jump. I reckon there's a possibility. However, what I thought, what is a problem is the fact that the interweaving of the corn or the stalks is something that, in that method I described, would be very difficult. A programmed device would have to layer one section, then do a completely other part to make sure, it got the weave right. So then, it started unravelling that idea, because it's almost impossible. In fact, to imagine that men in a secret room or whatever have developed something like that and are, so to speak, doing all the crop circles, I just think that would be a technology that would be, it'd be more than 20 years ahead of what we get from the street retailers. More than 50. I mean, come on. Alright, the pattern, fair enough. I'm not saying you couldn't program a drone to do that with some kind of device. Not a laser, more of a airstream, a hot airstream of some description. Because you don't want to burn it, see, it doesn't get burnt. But I thought, that is a bit, it's off too far off on a tangent for me. Right, to say that it must be a psyop. But there are, aren't there? I mean, that's one possible. There's the hoaxes, maybe they are that good that they can do 5 a night and not get spotted. I mean, that does, the hoax thing does kind of get totally removed. And then you get these ones, so someone actually made a crop circle, right? This is funny. And what the circle was they made was they wrote, "Talk to us," right? And it was kind of, as a gimmick, yeah. But lo and behold, they got a fucking reply. I say reply, but another circle appeared alongside it with not a written message, obviously, or was it been on the front page? Well, no, maybe not. But it was like a code of, I call them dots and dashes, but don't think of Morse code because it wasn't like that. And it's, you know, it's more like some kind of braille, if anything, but not totally unreadable or uncoded, etc. But it was, you know, assumed to be a response to the one that said, talk to us. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And I just thought, you know, what is going on with them? I wouldn't want it to be a hoax because they seem too mysterious. But it could be a hoax still. So anyhow, there's another little about these circles that I just want to play. Check it out. So let's have a little look at what we have here. Interesting. A lone tree in a field. It just happens to have a crop circle around it. How crazy is that? What do you reckon? Oak tree, perhaps? That would be even more interesting. But what if it was on a ley line as well? Now that would be interesting. What if, you know, there are many crop circles and they're not hoaxed, right? This is pretty conclusive. There are some hoaxes, don't get me wrong, but there are some very, very strange, unexplained crop circles. And they display a lot of geometry. I should say some pictures of others. But what do you reckon? I mean, pretty crazy, eh? I think it's excellent. Even if it was hoaxed, fair play to them. But, I don't know. They'd have to know a lot, wouldn't they, really, to hoax it, so to speak. And there you go. So here we have them. A few more. Ye olde crop circles, eh? We've got crop circles. We've got quasi crystal patterns, tiling, floors and ceilings. You know, it's all kind of, I don't know, what is he suggesting? You know? I mean, I don't want to say it, but, you know, there's an element of simulation theory that would kind of connect these geometries. And, you know, a program to simulate, you know, the interior of, say, an old world building, call it a mosque, whatever, right? But a computer program, you know, set up to do these interiors for a simulation, right? Now, wouldn't it choose a pattern that was derived from mathematics of some description? Yeah? Rather than it being just a pretty picture that a man made up. About that, I think that's quite funny, to be honest. And I'm not, you know, I don't support any theory, to be honest. You know, everything's got potential, in my opinion. simulation, well, fairy fucking tale land, Jack and Ori, whatever. But, I think it's an interesting link up. And, well, I want to leave on an odd note. And that would be a quote from, I don't know, you could call him famous. I suppose he was for a while. He was a soldier. I think he was, in World War II, he was a very, very well-known soldier. In fact, was he a colonel or general? But does the name Patton ring a bell? I'm sure it will do for the American folk that may be listening. Patton, World War II. Well, let's see if Patton made any quotes that would concern World War II. Let's have a little look. And what do you know? Here's a little quote from General George S. Patton, July 21st, 1945. That's the real thing, it's a picture and all that, So, let's have a little listen then. Gentlemen, I have come this morning to the inexcusable conclusion that we have fought on the wrong side. This entire war, we should have fought with the fascists against the communists and not the other way around. I fear that perhaps in 50 years, America will pay a dear price and become a land of corruption and degenerate morals. George S. Patton, 1945. Well, how about that? On the wrong side? What the hell does that mean? Is he trying to tell us something or what? People go on about, conspiracy theorists and things like that. But, not being funny, you've got people like George S. Patton putting out quotes like this. Is there any wonder there are conspiracy theories about all sorts of things? And not being funny, also there's a damn good reason for that. So what do you reckon? Were the Americans on the wrong side? I don't know about you people, but I know what I think. I think history's like a fairy tale. It's a fucking fairy tale. But there you go, it's interesting. So, on that note, I will bid you all good night or good morning. Good night.